Hey everybody, and welcome to the FBL Solidity team call. My name is Marisa Maggio. Super excited to be on with you guys today. It's September 14th of 2023. So we are officially going into week 3 of 4 in September. We do have a very special guest on with us today, somebody that's familiar, hopefully, to all of you guys. If not, I'm sure he will be. We have Rami Hamadi on with us today. Now, before I go ahead and introduce Rami and have him, stir up, what I do want to talk about is Rami last year, his first full year in the business, he had no prior, insurance experience at all or sales experience. Don't want to tell a story for him, but I'm going to give you guys a snippet if you don't know it, just to kind of catch everybody up. Last year was Rami's full year in the insurance industry. He did hit Hall of Fame, which was amazing. In the first, I believe, 9 months. Correct me if I'm wrong on that, Rami. That same month, he also hit senior sales manager, and that was last year. So it was cool to see 2 different things break out in the same year. Now, we always say if you're growing in this business, things like that shouldn't be like a once in a decade thing. They should be like happening each year where you're having breakthroughs, right? And it was really great to see. I feel like Rami had a huge breakthrough throughout the year, but he hit Hall of Fame this year in 8 months. So he almost, he beat his own record, which is always a good thing when we're competing with ourselves, right? Not with others. And also he qualified for the cruise in the first 2 months versus needing that 3rd month. So he's definitely somebody who puts his head down, has non-negotiables and puts emotions to the side when needed in this business, which is very, very important. But without further ado, Rami, how are you doing today?
I'm doing great, Marisa. Thanks for having me on the call today.
Absolutely, you got it. Well, Rami, just to kind of hit the call off, I talked a little bit about your non-negotiables. What have you done this year to make sure that your non-negotiables are actually truly non-negotiables?
And guys, the main thing with non-negotiables, the first thing is you really want to make sure that in this business you understand what you need to do to become successful. And I'll tell you guys what I did in order to kind of hit Hall of Fame.
Rami, I don't want to interrupt you. I'm sorry, we just can't hear you that well. Can you speak up a little bit? Sorry.
Yes, can you hear me now?
Perfect.
Is it better? Okay, cool. So guys, the non-negotiables I was going to refer to, and what helped me hit Hall of Fame are just a few different things that we all can implement, we all can do on this call. The first thing is showing up for yourself and showing up for others, which means whether you're building a team, whether you're not, we all have teammates, right? We're all working together. No one works for anybody, right? So at the same time that I want to make sure that I'm dialing in the morning, I'm on my dial slot and I'm prepared on here dialing so that all my agents or fellow agents can see me doing that. So one of the main non-negotiables is hitting the phones. I understood that I had to, hit the phones and of course purchase leads. So the first step, make sure you guys allocate dial time and make sure it's literally, if you're doing full-time schedule, Monday and Thursday. This is the easy way to do it because that system works. The second thing, guys, was a non-negotiable for me was basically purchasing leads, was making sure that every single week I had a set lead order that I knew I was going to spend and I was going to purchase. Because without leads, we don't have any business. And I mean that. Now, we can have a lot of friends and family. You can have a book of business that can only go so far. And I really mean that. Once you squeeze a lemon, there's only enough juice. You got to get more fruit. You got to get more lemons. The same point with leads, guys. I understood non-negotiable every Monday, every Thursday, have 100 brand new leads to me for every single dial day. Now, that's not what I mean like fresh, brand new exclusive leads. What that means is I went to the ILC, whatever was available here in Massachusetts, I bought 100 of them, whether it be a mix of internet leads, mailers, the whole 9, and I'll dial them. I'll get through my dials from 8 a.m. all the way to the afternoon till 1, take a little break, watch team calls, watch Zoom videos, then hop back on the phones, guys, from 4 o'clock till 8 o'clock at night. I wasn't able to book my 16 appointments. So you want to make sure that the third non-negotiable, they all kind of tie, is having 16 appointments if you're running face-to-face in home over the next 2 days in a full-time schedule. If you're doing it part-time, that one day you're running the field, have at least 10 appointments, guys, because you want to have as many at-bats in your favor. If you're doing the TELUS or Zoom side, like we all know, you want to put a little bit more activity and a little bit more resources into it. You want to make sure you understand that the 8 appointments may not be enough. They may have to be, 15 or 16. But again, you're dialing multiple states. It's all feasible, guys. You just want to make sure you're keeping your activity high. Lastly, I always make sure, Marisa, personally, what you told me is always go to your earliest appointment, always go to your last appointment. Because, guys, I can promise you, as a new agent, it may get tiring at times. You may feel like, hey, I don't want to make this call. I don't want to go see this family at this time. I'll promise you that my biggest sales have been late at night or early in the morning. No one's going to waste your time and book an appointment that early or that late. It just doesn't really happen. And lastly, guys, I'm going to lead off with just saying you really want to make sure you plug in. And I mean that. Make it a non-negotiable to stay into the FBL system. Because if you don't, it's really easy to kind of lose track and kind of get out of it, think you're doing the right thing. You have a couple bad months, you have a great month, have a bad month again. You're like, all right, is this really for me? Whereas if you consistently plugged in, watched the team calls, hopped on the builders call, hopped on all the training videos we have for the new agents and even seasoned agents, you're going to continue to learn. I learn something every single day. So anytime I hop on a call and Marisa brings on a guest and I'm listening to them, I learn something. Like everyone, we all take notes. Make it guys a non-negotiable again to really plug in and make a car rolling university. And we have a lot of calls in order to kind of do that here.
Love it. And Rami, I think that you brought up a lot of important points. It's like, I don't know the last time I got onto a dial team on a Monday or Thursday and you weren't on there, right? And now it was really unique too to see that the top two producers this month, one is predominantly telesales, Heather, she's all telesales, and she's absolutely crushing it. And then the other, it was Rami, who's in the home. And what I loved about this was it shows that both sides have a proven system, not because two people did them, but because so many other people, after Heather, after Rami, etc., did the same exact thing, right? So it's a plug and play system. It just depends what system are you operating under. In-home, telesales. They're both great systems. You know why? Because they both work if you work, right? With that being said, Rami, sometimes people will ask, why are you telesales? Why are you in-home? Why are you hybrid, right? And to you, what made you start in the home in your insurance experience? And what keeps you in the home till this day?
So the reason, guys, why I'm in home, why I started in home was because primarily, if it works, it works exactly. So for me, when I joined the guys family first life, there were still telesales and Zooms, and hybrid was a model. The primary model was face to face, and to be very honest and blunt, guys, people who are making money, they're all doing face to face at that time when I first joined. Marisa's, like, as you guys know, she's my significant other, but at the same time, she's the one that kind of helped me and took me under her wing and really showed me what this business can do and how it can help for my family and other families. And the first thing she actually told me and made me understand was going face to face and having a personal conversation with the client and actually sitting down with them, having a proper conversation. It's not just an easier sell, guys. It's not the point. It's easier to connect to the client. It's easier for them to trust me, right, as a person and really understand that I am there for them and their family. Whereas if I didn't go to that home, I might have been a little lazy, right? I might have not really, looked out for that family. I still would have, but maybe not to the best of my ability. I know that when I went in the home that way, it was the best way for me to help that family. And the reason I stuck in the home was because once you get it, you get addicted to staying in the home. You like to be in the field. You don't mind driving around. And I truly enjoy helping families. And I truly, I always kind of stayed in the home. And that's pretty much the reason why I stayed in, guys. It's because I enjoy it. Now, if I wanted to go virtual, if I truly enjoyed it, I would do that. And I'm trying to plan on, adding more virtual and telesales into my business because I have to. I have to adapt and grow and evolve, right? You can't just stay still or be like a dinosaur. And I truly mean that. I don't personally think, face-to-face is going to die out. But I will say, though, 10, 20, 30, 40 years down the line, guys, a lot of people want to do, virtual. There's a lot of things going on in today's generation where they may not have enough time, right? They may be working. But the reason what kept me to doing again in home was because that's what I started. And as Christina mentioned, if it works, it works for you. It worked for me, and I figured, why would I change it, right? Don't reinvent the wheel if the wheel's working for you. And that's what I did. So if anyone on this call is a new agent, whether you start in home or on the phones, if you're starting on the phones, give it your all. Give it for 90 days. If it doesn't work out, it's okay. Go in the home. And then you will see in the home is easier to work out. And if it doesn't, it's okay. Go back and figure out what you're doing wrong and correct it and just move on because the system here, like Marisa said, plug and play. So once you master your lane, keep going. And that's what I did. I found my lane and I just kind of mastered it.
Love that. And I think, like you said, Rami, what keeps you in the home? You talked a little bit about essentially there's less trust barriers, right? That's awesome, especially if you're a new agent, in terms of credibility. Sometimes you might get nervous if somebody's like, is this a scam? Like, we all know it's not a scam, but if you're on the phone and you're like, like, you're going to get hung up on. Whereas if you're in the home, like, this is my license, let's go on. Where you can do that on the phone too, but you just have to be more swift with it. You have to get your word tracks down. Like, I'm not confused that Heather has her word tracks down, like notes from like her date of birth, right? Like, I'm not confused about that. But what it sounds like, Rami, is you move the learning curve in the home, and right now you're comfortable in the home and you like being in the home and out there talking to people. So
Correct,
love it.
yeah. And I can always like come back to the hospital reference. I like helping people, guys. Like all of us, we don't come here just to make money. We're coming to help people. If we get, we do different sales ventures. But the main point is when you're in the home, I'm connecting with the family. I'm meeting that person, right? And then I'm able to actually, have a different experience. And a funny story, a client who I helped yesterday, who I'm trying to get more insurance, is a little difficult. She keeps getting declined for some reason. She invited me and Reese to like this home, like a housewarming. I guess when you purchase a house, you throw a party, it's like a housewarming. Right then you
Rami
go to
didn't
that
know
home.
Rami didn't know what a housewarming party was, but he knows
I
now. So
didn't. I did not. I'm not afraid to ask exactly. So I didn't know. So I was like, all right. And she invited me, right? And if I was in the home, maybe she invited me. So just kind of cool, guys, to have like a little melting pot, build your network too at the same time. It really does. Networking is key.
amen, absolutely. And Rami, talk to us a little bit about, on the phones. And if you hear Rami on the dial team, on the phones, Rami will pretty much fight you tooth and nail. Like if you filled the form out, he's coming to your house. Like period. And story. Like you don't want it good. That's exactly why he's calling. So Rami, talk about maybe the most common phone objection that you get. What would you say that is?
I'm not interested, or I already got that taken care of. Those
All
two
right.
main
So
things.
I was gonna say kind of same category, if you will, right? Or,
Yeah.
same comeback. So if I tell you, hey Rami, actually thanks for calling, but I already got that taken care of.
I can understand, Marisa. Now, as my job as your file is still open, I'm the underwriter assigned to you. It's my job just to make sure you're in the best position possible, and I can review that policy in place just to make sure you're in the best rate class possible. So I'm going to be down in your county on both Tuesday and Wednesday of this week. Typically, what time are you and your spouse home from work on that Tuesday or Wednesday? And I'll
Well, I
just
mean,
go
we
right
already
through.
did it. Do we have to do it?
Yeah, Reese, I understand that. Now, again, your file is still open, and because I have liability to release, I have to complete my internal requirement and release liability, which means getting the information you requested out to you. Now, I know you think that you did complete it, but at the same time, maybe a better position I can put you in, and it's my job just to make sure you and your family are always protected in the best position possible. So we're gonna have that Tuesday or Wednesday. I can squeeze you in at 6 or 7. I just keep going into my script, guys.
Right. So you're accepting what I said, you're reflecting on it, and you're redirecting the conversation back to the script, right? Guys, that's
Exactly.
the key on the phone. It's accept what they're saying. I hear you, Marisa. Reflect, right? I understand, but I have to release liability, redirect the conversation. So is Tuesday at 5 or 7 better, right? When you can start having things like that to go to, like Rami, that's pretty much your go-to when somebody says that, right? Like I already
Yeah,
got
all
it
the
taken
time,
care of,
guys.
right?
Yeah,
So you're saying
that's
the same thing every single time, and that's important. Now, if you're saying the same thing every single time to 100 people and they all hang up on you, you just might have to change around your verbiage a little bit. But that's what we're here to help for. But you want to remember, guys, on the phones, if you feel like you're getting beat up, by the way, if you're a new agent, like we all get beat up on phones. Like Heather does, Rami does, like you name it, we all get beat up on the phones. It's literally about, can you pick yourself back up and just dial the next lead? Like call the one that needs help, right? So that's really important. And Rami, what would you say really helped you when you came in overcoming, those 3 or 4 objections you get on the phone? What did you do to make sure you were ready for those?
I printed the Aggression handbook, guys. No joke. I printed like it. Marisa and Christina had everything ready for me. I needed this, and I'm lucky for that. Seriously, if you guys have an upline that's willing to put in the energy and talk to you guys and put in the work, take their advice because I literally have in front of me. I do this all the time, and every call I'm on. I have the same script that Marisa and Christina gave me to this day with all the same annotations on it. It's always in front of me. Sometimes on dial team, you'll look at me, I'll start looking down like this because I'm reading the script, guys. Yeah, I memorize it, but when you're looking at it, it's easier. It's easy to say. And I printed the Aggression handbook, literally. I had that out loud and I just read it over and over again. And I didn't just read it, I practiced it. So I implemented it when the people were actually telling me, I'm not interested, I already got that taken care of. Instead of saying liability, sometimes I'll say, okay, it's my job to do an annual review. Just review your policy, just to make sure you got that review, to ensure that you're in the best rate class possible, to be in the strong position for your family. All the family needs to know is that you're not trying to come there to replace anything or push them to buying something. I'm just trying to make sure what you have is what you think it has, what you think you have, and that it's actually good. And if that's the case, you're in the best of hands, right? And if it's not the case, we try to put them in a better situation. And what I really did again, I studied the Aggression handbook. I made my car rolling university. Anytime I'm driving from appointments, I'm going anywhere. I'll listen to dialing videos and people like actually dialing. I'll talk to Marisa all the time. You can ask her, literally, I would ask her every day in the beginning, can you practice this phone script with me? Can I read it out loud? Can I role play role on purpose? You just really want to find someone in your life that's willing to kind of, just listen to you and tell you, hey, you sound a little off here. You sound like a robot. Change your tone. Think about your cadence, like the way you speak, mirroring and matching the tone of your voice. So with that being said, that's what I did, guys. So I plugged into my uplines. I looked at the resources they gave me. I actually plugged them in. I looked at it. I read it. I studied it. I interpreted it. Then I implemented it as I was dialing. Once I did that, guys, literally my first week, you know what to say. Like they say it over and over, guys, and you get the same response too. When someone tells me they're not interested, and I say, I understand that, Derek, I'm not interested either, but it's my job just to get this information out to you and release my liability. 10 out of 10, like not 10 out of 10, 80% of the time, they're gonna say, okay, fine, that's fine. I'll get the information. And when you're in home, when I'm at your house, I'm at your house. Like, what are you gonna do? You're telling me you're not there when you're literally at your front door. They let me come in. And at that point, guys, they see I'm there to help them and they can see how genuine I am. When you're doing it over the phone, the same aspect. The main point is to understand that it's your job just to review and release the liability. Because like Marisa said, it's a family, guys. And we all say this. Imagine the leads we all have in front of us is our cousins, our brothers, our sisters, our moms, our dads. If they said they're not interested and they have no life insurance or they barely have some, are you really going to let that slide? Are you really just going to say, hey, it's okay? They already don't need that. They made the request. 1% guys who makes these kind of life insurance requests are the people who fill these forms out. So if they're 1% of people and they really think that they don't need it, it's false. They just think they don't, or they got bothered. Just keep a reminder that they're a family who needs the help. And the main thing is just to always get back to the script you're using or remind them that your job is to get that information to them. And that's what I did throughout the beginning, and I continue to do so.
Love it. That's huge. So Rami, you really just used the resources you had at hand. And one thing I want to say too, guys, if you're on this call, I know every leader on the team, and what I can say is any single upline on this call is willing to help you with anything Rami just went over. So like just like Rami said, like, oh, like Christina and Marisa helped me. We helped Rami. We were like, here's the script. Like I printed it for him. You know what I mean? Like, and then one thing I will say I did do to make Rami uncomfortable. Because if Rami can't say the script to me, Rami can't say the script to Dan, John, or Mary that he's about to call, right? So one thing I did do with Rami is I said, Rami, run the phone script. We'd be like in the kitchen. I'm like, run the phone script. He'd be like, no, why? And I'm like, run the phone script. And I can tell you that Rami's very thankful that I made him run the phone script. Now, here's what else I can tell you. Guys, when I got started into Family First Life, I didn't necessarily have somebody that was going to run the phone script with me 100 times. And by the way, your upline's responsibility is not to run the phone script with you 100 times. However, run the phone script 100 times. Now, when I came into Family First Life, you might be like, well, my upline doesn't want to run the phone script 100 times. I don't blame them. Okay, I really don't. But my point is what I went ahead and did was I would look at myself in the mirror and read the script out loud. And once I knew I could look in the mirror and say it without looking down, I knew that script. I knew like nobody was going to catch me off guard on that script. Because I don't care if I was saying it to my dog, literally to my dog. Like, it doesn't matter. It's about getting the words out so you become familiar with what does it say? Then you're going to become familiar with why am I saying this, right? Why am I tying the appointment down? Why am I asking what time they're home? Why am I asking if they're married, single, widowed, or divorced, right? All those things are going to start clicking to you. But the best thing you can do as a new agent or an agent that's learning a new phone script is read the phone script out loud as many times as you can, and don't let it go down until you can look in the mirror and you can say the whole phone script out loud. Now, I too still always have my phone script out just like Rami. It's like that in case of emergency button, right? You have a rebuttal that catches you off guard. You're able to get back right to where you were on the phone script. Guys, and that's huge. So don't use the excuse of like, well, I'm not near an office. I'm sure you're close to one. If you really wanted to get to one, you could get there, I promise. But don't use that excuse, because FFL home office, the dial team, that is huge, guys. If you're not plugging into that and you're having issues dialing, like I love you all, but that makes zero sense to me. And I have zero empathy, like none, zero. Because the people that get onto that dial team, you'll see they're the same people that were on the leaderboard. Didn't happen by accident. All right, guys. So plug in and reach out. That's what we're here for. I'm not too good to talk to anybody. Christina's not too good to talk to anybody. Rami, in the list go, no one on this team is too good to talk to anybody. So guys, we all want to help you. but we have to know you're helping yourself. If you say you're going to get on live dials and you don't get on live dials, you already are like not doing what you said you were going to do. And like, that's okay. But if I'm like, hey, Rami, it's okay that you never get on live dials, you can't book an appointment, like I'm hurting him at that point, right? Get on live dials, whether you're telesales or you're in home, get on there. Here's what I can tell you guys. I went virtual more recently, and I'm sure you guys can all see that. It is completely different. But one thing I have been doing that's been extremely helpful is plugging into FFL Home Office every single day. Even if there's 4 of us on there, it holds me accountable to dial. Another thing it does is when I'm getting beat up, it allows me to hear other people and what they're saying. So it's like, if you're not getting on the dial team, it doesn't make sense. Even if you're not dialing just yet, it's good to get on there even for an hour, 2 hours, and actually listen. Don't get on for attendance purposes. Get on there for yourself, right? But that's what I got to say about live dial. Sorry, Rami. You know, I'm very, very passionate about live dials. But talk to us a little bit about lead flow. Now, when you come into this business, your lead flow, how it starts, should definitely not be how it looks, 6 months or a year in. Talk to us a little bit about what your lead flow looked like when you first came into the business and what your lead flow looks like now and kind of why.
Yeah,
And
so
if you can also
basically,
talk spend as well. Sorry, Rami.
yeah, of course. So in the beginning, guys, I did what every new agent would. I was getting second chance leads from my upline if needed. Marisa and Christina, they would give me some leads that, were old. And I didn't know they were old because when I first started, guys, I had no idea there was a time limit on leads. I just thought leads were leads. Literally, I had zero idea. Age, 1, 2 month, 2 month, I didn't care. I was like, all right, here's a stack, dial them. But when I was actually purchasing my leads, I always did a mix. Now, I run mortgage. You all know that. You see my posts on Slack. You guys know how I talk. Like, I run primarily mortgage. When I first started, I was running second chance mortgage through the CRM back in the ILC now. I was running second chance final expense mailers, and I would incorporate a little bit of internet leads at that time. The internet leads I slowed down a bit because I picked up on the Facebook, not on Facebook, on the mailers here in Mass with mail drops, because Marisa always told me that if you really want to do mortgage, you gotta put somebody up front first because you have to mail drop it, which means you pay money for, let's say, X amount of pieces of drop. The company sends them out, the mail company, they'll send it, you gotta wait for them to come back in and they go in your system. And as we know, guys, mail takes time to go there. Not every person that gets that letter is gonna fill it out. So there was weeks that I didn't have any like leads coming in for those drops. In the meantime, what I was doing, I was spending minimum $500 to $1,000 every single week on every single dial day. And I mean that. And you probably think, no, he didn't. He spent 200-300. Yes, I did. I was working in the hospital and I took my check, and I literally, one check, guys, was like $700, and I put it down on leads because I knew that I believed myself big time, and I knew that I understood that if I worked the lead the way everyone was doing it, I was gonna make back the money and more and help the families. So once I made my first lead order back, it's numbers game at that point. It's like at that point you always want to keep multiplying. So further on the business, mail drops kept coming in. So now I'm working primarily mortgage, let's say 70% mortgage, and I'm incorporating internet leads and final expense leads in the meantime, whether that be through Happy Agent, any type of vendor, Facebook campaigns, or even just traditional internet leads to the ILC. And then now I'm spending probably between, I'd say, around $3,000 to $4,000 a week on leads to make sure that I'm getting, again, primarily mortgage mail drops like here, and that's it. And that's what I'm running right now for mortgage. So I went from 500 to 1,000, all the way up to doing one type of lead type and doing it basically $4,000 a week.
Got it. And I think that's really important how you pointed out, like, hey, I didn't start at 4,000, right? But I got to a point where my business allowed me to afford 4,000, right?
Exactly.
And if you're able to look at it how Rami just said it, like he made one investment with his check from the hospital of that 700 or so. And he never had in his mind, he never had to buy leads again because he was making sales. Now, I'll never forget this, particularly too, because like Rami and I date. It's not, no one's confused about that. If you were, sorry, we date. We've been dating. But when Rami came into the office the first time, I basically gave him like a lecture, like the week before. I said, Rami, if you're going to complain every day, I don't want you to do this. If you're going to come to the office and you're not going to dial, I don't want you to do this. I don't want to deal with it. If you're going to act like you're going to work and you're not going to, please do me a favor and please let's just not even start this thing. Okay. So with the first day that Rami came to the office, I said, you're going to sit, right over here, which was like the room next to me. We both had our doors open. And I gave him a stack of leads that honestly were probably at least minimally, like newest 6 months, probably more like a year and a half. And he ripped through those leads and the rebuttals that were coming. I was like, who taught him that? Like, and then he's like, oh, I watched Matt Smith and Paul McLean's, phone video. It's like, okay, like I see you, like you were doing your homework. And like I was there. I just maybe didn't know. Maybe I was working, right? Maybe I was doing my homework because I still got homework too. But I'll never forget it because essentially, like, did everybody book with him? No, of course not everybody booked with him. But what I can tell you was he wasn't going down without a fight. And that's what it needs to be like in the beginning. If you're not willing to rebuttal people on the phone, you're gonna get pushed over like all the time. Even people that actually want the insurance are gonna push you over because they don't even know why you're calling. And you're just like, okay, bye. You got it taken care of. Okay, all right. All right, have a great day. Like that does not help anyone, guys. It doesn't help you and it doesn't help the client. So that day particularly, I was like, okay, this is not going to be as bad as I thought, right? And Rami, I say that with all love, right? Because he just went to work, right? And like I remember Christina came to me and she was like, it sounds like Rami's doing really good. And I was like, yeah, let's just leave him alone. I went in there probably 2 hours later. I said, Rami, how many appointments do you have? He said 9. And I was like, 9? On those leads? No? He was like, yeah, I still got like 30 of them to go through though, because I told him he had to book 16. And like he left the office with 18 appointments. Now, guys, is that going to happen for everyone on their first dial day? No, absolutely not. I would be lying to you all. Can everybody do that? Yes. But is everybody prepared enough to do that? I don't know. You know what I mean? That's up to you. So just wanted to share that because I think that that's really big. And it just shows like, if you start that way, like you start in a frame of mind of, I'm just going to get this done. That's pretty much the frame of mind you're going to stay in. And ever since the day Rami walked into the office door, it seems like that's the same frame of mind that he's been in. And I just respect the heck out of that. But moving forward, Rami, so sometimes, especially in the home, with telesales, it's a little bit different. But when you're in the home, you'll have people call you, right? It will be like, John, your 3 o'clock is calling you at like 12 o'clock. He called you at 9 this morning. He left you a voicemail. Like he's trying to cancel his appointment because he had a family emergency. Guys, Rami, aren't you shocked how many family emergencies come up each and every week?
Yes, a lot. Probably one a day, guys. Is there really that
A
many?
lot, right? And guys, here's what I can tell you. A lot of them aren't family emergencies, okay? So you got to remember that. All right. So one thing I know that I did when I was in home, I used to act like I did not hit the voicemail. And that was like my go-to move. And I always showed up anyways. And to be very transparent with you guys, 75% of the time the person was there. And 75% of the time that the person was there, I didn't bring up the voicemail because it wasn't applicable. I'm just going to act like they're home. I know they left me a voicemail about how they had a family emergency with their dog and they don't even have a dog. And I'm there, but I'm not going to act like I heard the voicemail. So Rami, how do you deal with cancellations or people trying to reset the appointment?
Yeah. So guys, whenever someone tries to cancel or basically no show me, so I'll start on step by step, like cancellation. I'll go to my cancellations. Like I'll go there. Literally, I'll go right there right away. If they tell me don't show up, I literally had someone call me recently and was like, I hope you're getting these messages because I'm not gonna open the door for you. I show up, she opens the door for me. It's like people are just going to do that, guys. People are scared to be sold. And I mean that. Reese told me that, Paul Kane told me that, Christina told me that. People just get scared to be sold. And then at times they just forget why they did it for and get to remind them. So people cancel on me when I show up. Let's say I show up and they're not there, right? Truly, they're not there at all. I don't take the lead, I disregard it. And I say that, hey, you know what? I'm no longer going to talk to this person at all. I'll give them a call back the next dial day. And I say, hey, this is Rami, we have an appointment on Friday. I'm coming over on Saturday, tomorrow, because I have to get this information to you. I'm gonna be there at 6 o'clock. Sound good? And guys, they will always say, yeah, that's okay. What was it for again? It's with the mortgage insurance. I'll see you then. All right, I'll see you then. Bye. And they're home, guys. But if I didn't call them back, right? And if I didn't, treat them as a cancellation and I just threw it away, I would never help that family. 50% of my business, guys, are appointments like that, or people who literally would try canceling on me, no showing me, rescheduling me, just because either things really do come up at times, or because how I booked the appointment with them and how my schedule ends up being, it's not really falling in line perfectly with their schedule. So they maybe do need a day or two off to kind of get me to fit me in their schedule. But at the same time, I'm not on their time. They're on my time. So again, if they're trying to reschedule, I still go to the appointment. If they're there, I see them. And I act just like Jesus says, as if nothing happened. because they're not going to bring it back up to you. And then, like I said, if they're not there, I call them guys. So I have like a whole stack of leads who are people who either will no show me or I didn't make it to, and I don't get it. I call them back. I will continue to dial them and I'll continue to book them because I need the help. And most of the time, guys, I'll give you guys a little tip. What I say my county was moved. I say I do apologize, Marissa.
Thanks, bud. Have a great day. You too.
Okay, I'm sorry. Can you guys hear me? All right, yeah. So I basically was saying, all right. So basically, I was saying I do apologize. I was unable to make it. However, they did move my county, so I was unable to control that. You know, I'm up in Middlesex County today, but they moved into Essex. So I'm going to be back in Middlesex County on Friday and Saturday this weekend. I'm gonna put you down for Friday at 4 p.m. Does that work? And they say yes, guys, because they have empathy. They're empathetic for it. They understand. They think you're busy, but as long as you know you're actually busy. If you're not going to your appointment and then calling them, they feel that. Like, trust me, I've done it before. I've not went to appointments at times purposely and tried calling them back, and they can tell, like, you know, you wasted my time. I was waiting for hours. You didn't show up. My wife was off of work. It was her only time, and they literally will drill me in. I'm like, oh damn, my bad. And that realized me, I'm like, hey, don't do that anymore. Because again, they're a family who needs the help. So guys, it's true. If anyone ever cancels on you, calls when you're in the field or when you're doing a telesale, ignore it. You don't hear it. It goes straight to voicemail. They complain, you say the phone defers to a secondary phone number. You can't control it. It's out of my hands. I don't see the phone while I'm driving. Simple as that. They're not gonna get mad at you because we're not there to sell them solar. We're there to help them with their insurance and their family. We're there to literally make sure that their family, the most important time of need, when they actually are going through death and trouble and they really go through sickness and they need this financial support, we're providing them with a solution that's going to be able to give them that relief that they need. So keep in mind that. Literally, keep it in the back of your head. Anytime you think you're bothering a client or anything like that, we used to always phone when you're dialing. You're not bothering the client, they're bothering you because they literally sent in a request. I have to take time out of my day to pick up the phone and call them back and get them on the phone to book an appointment that they want to set up. I'm not cold calling them. I'm not a telemarketer. So keep that in mind. None of us are, and I really mean that. None of us on this call are telemarketers. We're not supposed to anybody. They ask us for our help. Sometimes, yes, does it suck when they, you know, they act like they don't know us? That's okay. Call them back because at the end of the day, they know what they filled out, and it goes back to the appointment. The same mindset you have on the phone when dialing, have to have on the appointment when it goes to actually seeing the family, helping them via virtual or via Zoom or even over the phone. So I can promise you this: if I asked Heather right now to unmute and I said, Heather, how much of your business in the past 3 to 4 months has been follow up? She's gonna say at least 25% of it. And at least 25% is follow up because she knows that she's not just gonna let someone tell them, oh, I'm not available right now, oh, I don't need it, and hang up. And she goes on to the next. No, she's gonna move on to the next because she's professional. She has her lead. She understands exactly what to do, and she's a top producer. At the same exact time, she's gonna still touch on that family, make sure that they're understanding that hey, she's still there, and she follows up. And that's why, guys, you know, the top producers, we don't just sell everything in the home. And I mean that over the phone. There is a lot of follow-up that does occur with it. But the main point is when you're in the home, you're in the home. When you're on the phone, you're on the phone. Don't take me saying that as saying you can be lackadaisical on the phone or like, you know, when you're in the home. No, you're in the hunt, that's it. Like you're in the hunt basically. Like Paul always said, a dog doesn't know he has fleas, you're in the hunt. It goes like the same exact aspect. You don't really know what's bothering you as long as you're really putting in the work and grinding and getting through it. And I hope that makes sense, guys.
Absolutely. That was huge. I appreciate that. And I think it just goes to show, guys, like, I know for me, like in home and now working a virtual model, like in home, if I did not go to my cancellations or like I didn't get them back on the books in some way, shape, or form, I probably wouldn't have had like 35% of my business. So like make sure you go. Like if they leave you a message, hey Marisa, I need to reschedule our appointment for tonight at 6. Like, I'll see you at 6. Like we're not rescheduling because they probably are not going to answer the phone when I call them back. And now what I just did was acknowledge the fact that they did indeed call me. So if they ever say like, did you get my voicemail? Like that's actually my work line. So I didn't. Shoes on or off. Like moving on, right? So I think it's really important. Just goes to show up to all of your appointments. If you set up an appointment, they're an adult. They said they're going to be home. They're going to be home. And Rami, moving on to kind of the next thing. I think that it's important to talk about fall off in this business, meaning you could go right John and Mary, and John and Mary might call, you know, let's just say Americo and say, we want to cancel our policies. And then us as the agent, we get a notification that John and Mary canceled their policies, or they could just call us. It just depends on the client, if you will. But there are going to be people that buy insurance from you. You feel really good about it when you leave the house. You're like, they're my clients for life. They love me. They love the product. And the next thing you know, you get a cancellation email that John and Mary Smith both canceled their policies, right? Now, we could do one of two things at that point. We could just be like, oh, well, John and Mary must not have wanted it. And like, I don't know what I did wrong. And we could overthink the whole thing, or we could just call John and Mary, right? So Rami, talk to us a little bit about what you do when you have somebody cancel a policy.
Yeah, so guys, anytime someone cancels a policy, I do two things, well, three things technically, depending on, how the type they answer or not. First thing, I call them, because when someone's canceling a policy, especially like in our business, when we're helping them, it's either one of two things. They're either confused or there's something they don't understand that might have been explained at the time of the meeting and they might have forgot about, or they just get a little bit sketched out and they don't trust you. So always remember to call them when they get false information. So what I do, guys, I'll call the client back and I ask them to give me a reason, like why you're canceling. First, explain to me, like, what did I put you in today? So I just call and I say, first of all, it's my job to release liability. I use this a lot, guys. I say, I have to release liability and make sure you truly understand what you're doing. So I have to do my due diligence for you and your family. So explain to me, Marisa, what kind of product did I put you in at the time of meeting? And then I've been recently doing this. So they tell me what I put them in, and I'll say, okay, why do we put that in place? Like, what was your biggest concern? They'll tell me the surface why again. They'll say, to help protect my family, but Rami, it's a little bit too expensive. Right then and there, I know it's your price points. I say, okay, no worries, Bob. What I'm going to do is I'm going to come back over. We can readjust your face amount. We're going to lower it to make sure that in the most important time when you pass away, Mary is going to have enough income to maintain the mortgage. Now, as it can be a full payoff or a partial, whatever the case may be, you just lower it to fit their budget. Secondly, guys, for the education part of it, I'll tell you a real story. I had a client who had a policy for 4 months. He canceled it. And when I met with him, we had a long conversation for more than 2 hours about the insurance. He wants to protect his sister, and he was adamant that he does not want this coverage being canceled. He understood the company. He understood this company was a little bit more expensive than others. It was America because of the double accidental rider. He knew it. Like, I sat there and I showed him 4 different quotes. I was like, here's CFG, here's Mutual, here's Aetna, here's America. We can do all of these. You pick the best one, literally. And I let my hands up and he picked. He chose America. I didn't do anything to lead into that. All the bill for accident. Now he canceled the policy yesterday. So I call him. I say, Howard, why'd you cancel that policy? We talked for 2.5 hours 4 months ago. You've been paying into this. What's going on? He says, well, Rami, I just been thinking about it a lot. You made up some very valid points. And I'm looking into retirement. So I called a friend of mine who had some fiduciary responsibility and told me that I should invest into an IRA instead of having life insurance for my family. So I said, oh, hold on, Howard. I said, so how much are you contributing? Because I didn't want to jump the gun. Maybe he's saving money he didn't tell me about. So like, how much are you contributing? Are you doing the max limit, 6,600? He's like, no, Rami. I was going to do the $130 that I'm paying for the the American premium. I'm like, Howard, you do understand that in IRA, what you pay is what you get. They're not going to double or triple or quadruple it. It's if whatever I put in, they match it, whatever they can match it at, but it doesn't act as life insurance. And there's tax implications. There's tax deferred unless you do a certain type. And he didn't know any of this. He was like, wait, so I thought that it's going to act the same exact thing. He thought $40,000 was going to pay out to his sister in the event that he died having an IRA. So I explained to him that that's not the case. So I said, right now, right, the $150 times 12 was around $1,600. I explained to them that in 10 years, that's $16,000 you put into an IRA. Maybe they match it exactly what it's worth. And I said, that's very hard as a 100% match. You're never going to get that. That's $32,000. 40 is more than 32. Any time before 10 years, your sister's getting more money. So on a financial aspect, why was this smarter for you? Why did this financial advisor tell you to cancel the only immediate form of life insurance for a tax-free benefit for your sister to make sure she's never going to pay for your burial? Why was that okay? He paused and he was like, holy shit, Rami, I'm sorry. So I didn't know. He called America right back. He put it right back on the books. He called me back again and he's like, I just called the guy. And the guy was actually telling me, no, the IRA wasn't going to do that. I have to put down a second policy with Colonial Penn. What they were trying to do, guys, he worked at a bank and he knew someone that worked for Colonial Penn and they were trying to just exchange business. One guy was trying to do the IRA, one guy was trying to do the Colonial Penn policy, which is well outside of his budget. Even the American policy was cheaper than the Colonial Penn at the rate it was at. So after I explained that to Howard, he literally took back and he was like, thank you for taking the time to call me and explain this to me. Because he truly believed that if he passed away today, putting $150 a month, guys, into this product, it was going to pay $40,000 tax-free to his family. Just imagine, guys, the world of hurt his sister would really be in if she's under the interpretation, which she was under the impression it was the same thing, apple to apple, which as we know, that's not the case. If I didn't call that guy back and say, why'd you cancel? None of that would have been unfolded. He would have never been educated on insurance, and then his sister would now be having to pay for the cost of the burial. So I say this, guys, it's a long story, but the point is call your clients because they cancel because they get scared. They sometimes they may not have gotten the policy within a day or two. They think back, they call the bank, they say, hey, you know what, maybe I can find cheaper life insurance somewhere else. You explain to our broker, I do the shop around for you. I put you in this product not only due to affordability, but eligibility. It's not only can you afford it, but can you qualify for it? A lot of families see on TV or get these cards in the mail for $100,000, $5 a month, but they don't realize they're 65 years old, having cancer twice, heart attack 2 years ago, and they think that they can qualify for this outstanding number. It's our job to bring it back down to earth. At the same time, after we do that, sometimes they go off the rails and they go back, they see the ad on TV, that per unit, $9.99 per unit, whatever, and they think it's, you know, $10,000 for $10. They cancel our policy, they call the company, and they're like, oh wow, that's not the case. They don't call us back, though, they put it on the books. You know why? They feel embarrassed, guys. They feel ashamed at times. So like, wow, you know, I just kind of put my family in a worse situation. Why am I going to call the kid who came in here and the guy who helped me put me in a better situation? They wait until they get the secondary form back in the mail, or they continue to do that search. So take the extra step, guys. Don't be scared and call them, because you're going to save that family a lot of headache, a lot of work. And I mean that. And I've recently realized how important it is, you know, to call your cancellations, because guys, it's money. Like I've realized 30% falls off if you don't call them. If you do call them back, it's like 10% falls off the books, literally. As long as you call them and understand and reiterate why they filled the form out, why they made the request, and why you were there for, as long as within that budget, staying on the books. As to make it too expensive, it's not going to. So always make it affordable for the client. Don't make anybody insurance for it. And don't go crazy. What I did in the beginning, this is me doing a little side rant. Don't like go give clients products they don't need. I would love putting healthy 50-year-olds in CBO products for final expense clients, just because they get the cash back at the end, they can utilize this final expense. But it was like $30 more expensive, and they end up canceling it 1 year down the line, 9 months down the line. Whereas if they had that traditional whole life that they needed to protect their family for $30 cheaper without all these extra bells and whistles, they would have kept it. And I know in the moment it sounds cool giving a family more benefits and, you know, extra coverage, but at the same token, if they cannot afford the coverage for affordability, it doesn't matter what it can do. It's just gonna fall off no matter what. So stick to the bare minimum, stick to what they need, and always make sure it fits their needs and their budget, just like Marisa and Christina always talk about.
Absolutely. And that was like spot on. And another thing too, that I said, if the client calls in, another thing too, guys, is if you get an email that there's insufficient funds, the bank account wasn't found, something of that sort, don't ignore it. Like you might have simply typed the bank account information in wrong. I'm like infamous for doing that, right? Like I'm not proud of it, but like it happens, right? So it might simply just be like a bank update. Another thing is if it's, you know, 5, 6, a year down the line and you see a cancellation come through, they might have changed their bank account and they just forgot what is automatically coming out of it. We're not doing our due diligence at that point, because we all know. So essentially a lapse means you cannot reinstate the policy. After 90 days of non-payment, the client doesn't have a choice to reinstate the policy. So if I don't call Mr. Jones back and talk to him within the first 3 months of that, he's going to lose his insurance coverage and I have zero say in it, right? So guys, sometimes it's simply a bank update, miscommunication on the application, etc. So make sure you're following up with your client. Nothing bad is ever going to come out of that conversation. The worst thing that could happen is, Rami, I don't want the coverage, and they hang up on you, right? That's the literal worst thing that could happen, and it probably very, very rarely happens. But with that being said, I know it's been kind of a long-winded call, but Rami, talk to us, kind of last 2 questions. Talk to us a little bit about how you balance, you know, producing at a high level each and every month, because what I can say is it's cool to be able to say like, hey, I issued out 100 families, you know, in a month. That's awesome. But if you do it once, like you're a flash in the pan. If you're doing it each and every month, you have some type of system you're following that's working for you. And obviously, Rami, you have that. Each and every month, you're always over 40 families, like minimum. And if you're at 40, you're usually telling me like why you should have been at 70 and why didn't you, you know, help Paul more in the home or whatever it was, right? You're always just striving for more. And I think that that's important in this business. But With that being said, how do you balance writing at such a high level consistently, but also being able to help your team out?
Of course.
And what
So
are other, and in addition to that, Rami, what are some other tools or people that you use to utilize helping your team as well? Because we are all one big team.
big time. So guys, the main thing what I always think about is when I first started the business is what did Marisa and Christina do for me? Literally, I always think back to it and I said, would I reach where I am right now without them? And the answer is no. So I always think about the agents I bring on board. Now it'd be very selfish of me to say, hey, you know what? We're just gonna hire all these agents and not help any of them. Like now I need my agents where they're at. So if I hire an agent and then I try, and then they don't even put too much energy in, I'm gonna put my hands off of it. And it's like they don't care. If they call me, I'm gonna answer. If they ask me questions, I'm going to be there. But I give my energy to the ones who are actually willing to put in the work and who wants to change their life, just like I did. In order for me to do that and work at a high level, I have to always lead from the front. I have to keep in mind that as long as I'm producing at a high level, then I can always, show my team that, hey, you can trust me, you can believe in me. Like if you need help, I can help you with that. And in order to get the help, I lean on you guys. I lean on my uplines. I lean on the Slack system, the Telegram, the Zoom calls, our FL oriented facility, the orientation we have, like our new agent training schedule. All these calls, guys, and all these tools are implemented here for a reason. Insurance toolkit. There's so many things, guys, we can use. Ringy, phone burner. No, I mean, I can go on for days about work spots, but the main focus is you want to make sure that, like Marisa said, that you're utilizing the support around you because you're only one person, and I mean that. Like Melissa's on the call. If you guys don't know this, Melissa, she's my staff. She's the head recruiter. She's my manager. She's everything for me, and I love her for that. Seriously, like without Melissa, I would not have a business, guys. Dead ass serious. I would not have it. That's it. But you see the Instagram post, you think that's me? No, my personal page is me. But everything else, that's Melissa, guys. And I really want you guys to know that without her, there would not be me writing at a high level. There wouldn't. So there has to be a teamwork. And if you don't have the ability to have someone like Melissa, or maybe you're not at that level where you can afford that staff, lean on your upline, and you are your staff, of course, right? You wear multiple hats, but at the same time, you lean on the people who did it before you. You ask Marisa and Christina, say, hey guys, can you send out a few onboarding emails for me? Can you guys use? That's what I did. I reached out to Christina every day. I said, Christina, how about this contract? Can you get this person switched over to me? Can you do this? And she had no problem helping me, guys, because we're all one big team. We all care and love each other. And we just really want to make sure that we're all winning together and that we're all succeeding at the same time. And the main focus is, I know I'm going on rampant, but when you produce at a high level and to build at the same time, you have to have that crucial foundation. You have to have that support, because without having those two entities, it's gonna be really, really hard to kind of maintain a consistent rhythm. You're gonna be able to have the up and downs, but to really stay consistent, you need a good team around you. And plugging them into Slack, Dial Team guys, the trainings, all of that is really going to make building a team much, much easier while you're in the field. Because while I'm in the field, if I have a new agent who just got onboarded, I can do one of two things. I can either plug them to another manager on the call. I can say, hey, talk to this person. They're going to help you right now, and then I'll help you when I can. Or they can plug in an automated system on their own time. They can go on the boot camps, they can go on the trainings, they can take their own leisure to learn it and then come back to me with questions. We formulate a strategy and we execute it. And once the agent's active in the field, as you guys know, like we're all very hands-on. Like we're gonna be there, we're always going to answer, always call us from the home, put it on speaker. We have no problem, talking to the client for you, because we know as a new agent, it's going to be, it's gonna be a little bit stressful at times, right? You may not have the short learning curve like I did, and I'm not special. All I did was have the right people around me who gave me the right push, and I already had this laid out. I'm just like a little chess piece. You plug me in, you tell me to go, and that's all I did. I just kept moving. So that's the biggest thing, guys, what really got me to produce and build was plugging into the correct system, which we have here at Solidity, and just pushing through it and doing it. And just actually seeing what the results equate to. If I don't have the results, I just backtrack a bit. I see what I need to tweak and change, minor adjustments, and keep moving forward. Like Musa always said, move fast and break things. That's one thing I've always held on to in this business, is you just want to, get off to the races, because once you start running, you can't stop. I mean that.
Absolutely, and that's huge. And first of all, shout out to Melissa. We do love Melissa. She's absolutely amazing and helps in so many different arenas. So love, love, love Melissa. But just like Rami's saying, like lean on other people. You have an upline, absolutely. Some of you guys might be on here, might be like, I hate my upline. Okay, like I'm sorry. I love you all. I hope that maybe some of you guys are not feeling like that. However, if you are, it really doesn't matter if you hate your upline. Like straight out of Sean Mike's mouth, it does not matter if you hate your upline, because you have so many other people that you can talk to that it doesn't even make sense. That's just an excuse. Just like, for example, like my car broke down this morning and they changed the tire at 7:30, but I still couldn't, dial by by 12 o'clock, you know, because it's like, dude, like, no, like, stop, insert excuse, right? Like, insert excuse. You know, you don't like somebody's training style. Guys, find someone on YouTube you resonate with. If there's one thing I did right when I came into the IMO world, I found a person that really resonated with me and I listened to all their training. And this is a copycat business. The biggest copycat is going to have the biggest return, flat like that. So if you can find somebody that sounds like you, like, I'm not ever going to be mad at someone if they call me and they're like, you know, I was just listening to Easton Patton's training. I'm like, good, let's go. Like, what'd you learn? Like, you know, like, can you shoot it over? Right? Like, I'm never going to be mad about that. Neither should your upline. If they are, that's really weird. Okay. And you can tell them that. You should tell them that too. But so my point is, guys, is there's just so many different tools, just like Rami said, that there's very few excuses you can use as to why you can't just get out there and get going outside of what's going on up here. So keep up your sharp and you're going to get out there fast, right?